Let it be noted that the North Carolina Appraisal Board is in section on the date of 11/8/18 at the hour of 9:05. In accordance with the General Statute 138A-15, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict of interest and refrain from any undue participation in that particular matter. Any issues? Okay, this morning before we start the regular general approval agenda, I'll ask Mr. Vincent has agreed to read the mission statement for us, which we typically do at least once a year with new members coming on board.
The mission of the North Carolina Appraisal Board is to protect consumers of real estate services provided by its licensees, assuring that these licensees are sufficiently trained and tested to assure competency and independent judgment. In addition, the board will protect the public interest by enforcing state law and appraisal board rules to assure that its licensees act in accordance with professional standards and ethics.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next item is the approval of the agenda. There's a motion.
So moved.
We have a second. We have a motion and a second to consider approving the agenda with items taken in any order as determined by the chairman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Okay, the second item on the agenda is approval of minutes for the period of September. We have a motion.
So moved.
We have a second. A motion and a second to approve the minutes for September. Is there any discussion, by the way, on anything on this minute? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. And Mr. Rogers, if you will.
I will recognize our guest. This week we have had our policy managers from the appraisal subcommittee here in our office. They've been here Tuesday, Wednesday, and are here to observe the meeting today. Jenny Tidwell and Claire Brooks, both with the appraisal subcommittee, and Ms. Tidwell is going to come and just kind of introduce the process and kind of why they come and what they do while they're here.
Good morning. I promise not to take much of your time. I just would like to. I know there's at least 3 fresh faces to this process, so I thought I would just briefly introduce ourselves and talk about, oh, is it not on? It was green when I came up, so I thought it was on. Okay, sorry. That is much better, isn't it? Okay. So I was saying that at least 3 new faces to this process, so I thought I would just quickly go through who we are and why we're here. I brought annual reports that are there in front of you. If you will open to page 11 11, you will see the staff of my agency. So we are a federal government agency with a very lean, mean staff of 12. And the staff is actually on page 13, I'm sorry. So that's our staff listed there. And I and Claire are policy managers with the appraisal subcommittee. And so we're on the staff. And then the page before, on page 11, is our board called the appraisal subcommittee. And they are heads or nominated by the heads of these agencies, the banking agencies and the Federal Finance Housing Administration, the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection, and HUD, and they sit and make decisions regarding our agency that we carry out as the staff. We were formulated originally in the late 80s from Title 11, and then we were amended in 2010 by the Dodd-Frank Act. And basically, we were given specific functions by Congress. One is to maintain the National Registry of Appraisers who are eligible to appraise in federally related transactions. And we maintain that on our website at asc.gov. So you can go there and look up appraisers. Users of appraisal services use it. Other state agencies use it. Appraisers themselves use it. That you can see the status of their credential, you can see what other states they have credentials in, and mainly you can see if they have any disciplinary action that affects their ability to work. So that was one of the things that Congress mandated us to do. Another one was to have a complaint referral hotline. So anyone who has a complaint about appraiser independence can go on this hotline to find out what agency should receive their complaint. It kind of walks them through what agencies should receive the complaint, because it may be one of these 7 federal agencies that sit on our board. It could be the Federal Trade Commission, it could be a state agency, it could be the state attorney general's office, but that program, that hotline will walk them through who should receive that complaint. And it's both a 1-800 number and a link on our website. The other mandate we had was to fund the Appraisal Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that sets the minimum standards of practice and the minimum qualification criteria. So we fund those Title 11 responsibilities of the Appraisal Foundation. And then the last but most important thing that Congress mandated us to do was to oversee the state regulatory agencies to make sure that they are carrying out their Title 11 responsibilities. And so we do that through regular compliance reviews. It's essentially an audit, but we call them compliance reviews because they're not really statistically based. We do that, plus we have policy managers assigned to states that help states out in any type of questions they may have, or if they're going through some type of change or something like that. So I'm the policy manager assigned to North Carolina, and I've been leading this compliance review. And we begin the review long before we come on site. We read your statutes and regulations, we read your meeting minutes, we go through all types of materials that your staff has sent us ahead of time, so that when we're on site, we're very targeted looking at specific files that we selected before we come here. And so that's what we've been doing in the office with your staff the last couple of days, is looking at those files that we selected. And we target some files based on the things that we've studied and read, and then we randomly select things because we're trying to get, in a matter of about a month, we're studying your program to get a clear picture of how the program ran over the last 2 years of the program. So you're on a 2-year cycle, so my compliance review covers 2 years. We were here 2 years ago, and your program received an excellent rating. You had no issues in the compliance review. And so we're just back for the regular compliance review that occurs every 2 years. I mentioned Title 11, which was our enabling statute. Well, we also promulgate policy statements, and those are essentially our regulations or our way of setting forth to the states how we expect their programs to run. So I wanted to point those out to you, and they begin on page 95 of the annual report that I brought. And if you look through those, you will see that there are currently, I have to remember this, 12 of them. And the reason there were originally only 8, and those coincided with the appraiser program. But since the Dodd-Frank Act amendment now put appraisal management companies under our jurisdiction, we added the last 4 policy statements to set forth our requirements regarding appraisal management companies. Since North Carolina has asked for an extension of a year to get their program into compliance, we are not reviewing the appraisal management company program at this review, but we will review it in 2 years when we come back. And policy statements, let's see, 8, 9, no, I'm sorry, not 8. Yes, 8, 9, and 10 will be the 3 policy statements that we will use to review the program in 2 years when we come back. But for this compliance review, we are using policy statements 1 through 7, and they mirror the 7 areas that we review while we're here looking at the appraiser program, and the 7 areas that we will report on in our report to you regarding the compliance review. And you can just see the areas that we looked at are your statutes, regulations, your policies and procedures, your temporary practice procedure, your national registry. We're checking to make sure states are keeping the national registry updated and reporting everything to us that they should. We look at applications to make sure the state is complying with the minimum qualification criteria. Reciprocity is now a mandate under the Dodd-Frank Act, so we look at reciprocity. Education, to make sure the education the appraisers are taking meets the qualification criteria. And then lastly, we look at the enforcement program to make sure not only are you investigating and taking appropriate action timely, but that you're doing it effectively as well. So that's the policy statements that we use, and that's our guidelines for the states when we come in to do a compliance review. So now what I do is I go back to my office and formulate my report, and it will come to you in about 2 weeks. You'll receive what's called a preliminary report, and it will basically tell you what our observations of the program was, but it's completely informal at that process, and it's not public record, and it gives the opportunity for you to write back to us. We ask for a response within 60 days, and then after that 60-day period, or we receive your response, the subcommittee is the organization that meets and reviews our report as well as your response, and they make the final decision as to what the rating of the compliance review will be. And I'll just point you real quickly to the rating scale that we use. It's a very simple one. It has 5 levels, and it can be found on page 128. And you will see the first column there has our 5 ratings. So basically excellent, good, needs improvement, not as satisfactory, or poor. And the second column there is the criteria we use to place the state on that particular level. And then the third column shows the review cycle that the state is placed on based on the outcome of their compliance review. I want to thank your staff publicly for all of the great assistance that they have provided for helping us with this review and for their hard work over the last 2 years. They've done a lot of work here in the last 2 years, and it shows, and they've always been excellent to work with. We enjoy them. They're very active in the appraisal industry, and we're very glad of that they share their knowledge and expertise, and they've always been just a pleasure to be with as well. They're a lot of fun, and we just enjoy them, so I want to say all of that publicly and thank them for everything that they do and all their hard work. And as well, I want to thank you for your service. It's a very tough job you have, and we just appreciate that you're willing to do that and do what it takes to do a good job and make the industry better. And that's essentially who we are and why we're here. Do you have any questions at all for me? Anything I didn't cover or something you heard that you'd like me to discuss? Okay, well, I appreciate you giving me a little time to introduce ourselves, and I look forward to seeing some of your faces at Aero. I know some of you from Aero and from being here too. Well, actually, I haven't been here in 4 years, but I've recognized some of you from then, and so I look forward to seeing you in the future. And don't hesitate to contact me. My contact information is on our website, asc.gov, or you can get it from your staff. And never hesitate to run a question by me or have your staff contact me. It's been a real pleasure, and thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Okay, it's time, Mr. Rogers, I do believe we have some.
Right, we have a couple of gentlemen who would like to speak on the open forum first. We have, both speakers are from NCAB, first being Stephen Craddock, the outgoing president, and the incoming president, Mr. James Norman. So I'll let Stephen go first.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Stephen Craddock, the NCAB immediate past president. I served during the years 2017 and 2018. And I wanted to take just a couple of minutes today to thank you all, the board and the staff, for all of your assistance and your guidance this year during my tenure. It was greatly appreciated. It was a pleasure to work with every one of you on all of these important matters that comes before the board. The staff has been amazing as always, where they take care of all of our needs, answer all the questions that we may have, and those are very important things. And the public needs to know that, and other appraisers need to know that just because this is the appraisal board, you do not have to be afraid of them. They're not your enemy. You can come to them with your questions and have answers immediately. During September and October, NCAB held elections, as we do every year, for officers and board members. And on October 5th, I transferred the gavel over to our newly elected president, who was at our annual conference in Kill Devil Hills. I would now like to introduce to you NCAB's president for 2018 and 19, James E. Jamie Norman II. Thank you all.
I'll be even quicker than he was. As he said, my name is Jamie Norman. I'm an appraiser here in Raleigh. And I just wanted to take a few seconds to introduce myself. And specifically, I wanted to thank both Don and Tom for visiting us and speaking to us down at Kill Devil Hills. I understand that Tom turned it into a long weekend, so that's great. It was a pleasure having you both. And I also wanted to thank Vivery and Dwight. It was a pleasure seeing both of you there. We enjoyed having you there, and I enjoyed our discussions. It was very nice to get to know you. And I too want to thank the board. As an appraiser in North Carolina, I'm very proud that the North Carolina Appraisal Board is looked up to on a national level. Don't want to pat you on the back too much, but a gold standard, so to speak. So thank you very much for the hard work you do. And I want you to know that NCPAC is here as a resource to help in any capacity we can. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And finally, I know that this is a special meeting for you, Roberta. It's been a pleasure working with you, and hope to see you around and interact in the future. So, with that, I just wanted to thank all of you and appreciate the time. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to finance, Mr. Rogers.
Okay, you have your financial profit and loss statements from ending in September and October. I don't believe there's anything that we notice as a red flag at this time. We will note that we've exceeded the renewal fees that we estimated already, and we usually have a few more trickling throughout the year. So from an income basis, that's certainly a positive. I think just from an expense standpoint, everything seems to be in order. I know there was always some interest because of the outside counsel that we've contracted with. We had budgeted the remainder of the $25,000 that was originally allocated for this year. I was looking for the line item, but I discussed with others that we've used about $16,000 of that $25,000 total. Hopefully that will probably be on course for about the remainder of the year, and then we can look at it from just a budget line item, how to continue that going forward. That's kind of on pace, I would say.
Did you find the total number on that?
I was
5551. Down the bottom
Yeah,
on the
and
back page.
the budgeted amount was what was the remainder, and actually it was 10,000 was the rounded number, but it was a little over 10,000 left in that account. We spent about 1,800 this year, and we're just under 9 remaining.
Okay, any questions? Board members have any questions? Yes.
I don't have a question, but speaking of Mindy knowing that code right off the bat, I just wanted to thank her. Last meeting, we had a good audit report, and I was talking to the auditor beforehand, and she said how careful you were and how you were good about keeping the audit firm informed of anything that happens throughout the year. And it's really, as a former auditor myself, it's a great it's relief to know that you're doing such a good job with this, so thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, I think we can move on to legal issues. Ms. Howard?
I have a consent alert for you today. It's in the matter of Lisa Mercer. Ms. Mercer performed an appraisal of a property in Ayden, North Carolina in August of 2016, finding a value of $535,000. This is a 3,200 square foot single family dwelling that has special features, such as a finished and heated sunroom that is improved with an indoor in-ground exercise pool, as well as a cigar room with a ventilation system. The subject's in a subdivision where there have been no recent sales. It is comprised of single-family dwellings similar in size to the subject. The subject, however, was in superior in construction and appealed to the homes in its own subdivision. The respondent's comparable sales were larger in square footage, room count, bathroom count, had other superior features, were located in superior areas that were occupied by more luxury-style homes. She made some adjustments for superior features, but did not make any adjustment for the superior location of the comparable sales. And although the subject contained unique and atypical features for property of its size and location, she did not consider it was an over-improvement for the immediate market area or that it suffered from obsolescence due to those personalized features. And there were some other sales available that were more similar to the subject area, and it may have been more similar in square footage, room count, and bathroom count. Based on all of that, she's agreed to a reprimand and to take the 30-hour residential sales comparison and income approach class by March 1st of 2019.
Motion to accept staff recommendation.
Second.
Are there any questions, board members? We have a motion and a second to accept staff recommendation on Lisa Mercer. Any other issues? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved.
There are also several probable cause summaries, if you can see. Do we have questions on any particular ones?
Sorry, Mr. Warren, page number is
That's page 1, and it's 2018-0029.
I'm sorry, page number 2.
1.
1. Mr. Taylor,
No issue.
Mr. Moore,
I also have a question concerning 0029, that's page 1. Also, 0035, which is page 10, and 0042, page 20, and 0004, page 22. And Mr. Chair, most of these are just comments. This is the one I'll be making.
so that's from 0004.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Talon? None.
None.
Mr. Benson?
Yes, I have a question on 0035, page 10. And also 0004, page 22.
None.
Okay, we can start with 0029 on page 1.
We want to approve.
I'd like to,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept staff recommendation on all the other cases.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Staff recommendation on all three items not mentioned. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We'll move on then. To page 1. Start with Mr. Warren.
I just have a question because in reading this, and if it's customary, the way the investigations are handled, it looks like the respondent was interviewed, but the complainant was not responding to any phone calls, emails, or mail. I think it's the same mail, but I think phone calls or emails. Is it customary that we continue the investigation going when the complainant doesn't respond to the investigator? Because it seems to me like that's almost like the complainant's not interested in pursuing, or it almost goes to it's not anonymous, but they're not aiding in the investigation. So it just seems to me like at that point the investigation would be dropped and dismissed.
Well, first of all, it's not the board's policy. And secondly, we do have a rule that a complainant is really not a party to a case. They're really a witness. So we be treated like a witness that we couldn't get in touch with. But the case goes on even if they say they want to withdraw the complaint, because of our rule, and also because of a policy statement, which you heard today. The policy statement requires us to expand the scope of the investigation. You know, once we see a report, we can't just get rid of it. We have to expand the scope of our investigation. That's in our rule, that's in the federal policy statements. So since the complainant is merely a witness and not a party, they have no control over what happens. If they drop off, we go forward anyway.
I have something too I want to add. It's not reflected here in this probable cause summary, but in this particular case, I actually did hear from that complainant. I had reached out to them earlier, no response. Once I had the report done and submitted it to Roberta, I actually got a call from them. So this came after I'd already created the report. But I did speak with the complainant. They were very much interested in the outcome of the case. And I just wanted to go ahead and let you know that so we can possibly amend this.
Yeah, thank you.
Complete your,
Yes.
Mr. Gore, I think you started doing 35, page 10.
We have one on this too.
Oh, I'm sorry, you had that as well.
Yeah, just an additional comment. So in summary, the investigator, Thomas George, I'm saying, indicates he did not find the allegation that the respondent selected inappropriate comparable sales or submitted evidence. It did reveal that the appraiser did send an unsigned appraisal by accident to his client and probably put this on a 1004 URER. This was not for a bank loan, was it, sir?
No, sir.
I just make a suggestion and the recommendation, this is merely my suggestion, rather than dismiss with the condition of a class of appraisal liability. I don't think, in my opinion, it doesn't rise to getting a class of appraisal liability. I simply would suggest it may be dismissed with a warning to review your report, including signing it, and be sure to use a general purpose report when reporting to a non-lender.
The only comment I will make to that is, especially for you folks who are new, is when we dismiss a class like that, dismiss a case with a warning and a class, they get CE credit for this class. So what we were telling them is when you take your CE next year, here's one of the classes we want you to take. So therefore, it's not disciplinary in that respect. It is steered CE, is the way you look at it. So we don't think of this as punishment in any way. And we're just telling them that this class might do you a little bit of good to think about things before you send your reports out.
I'm not sure the appraiser sees it that way.
Well, the letter that they get will tell them this, you may use this for continuing education, and this is not disciplinary action specifically spells that out.
That's not just my comment, I leave it to the board.
Any other comments regarding that?
So I guess my motion would be to dismiss with the warning, to review the appraisal, to make sure appraisals are signed, and to use the general purpose form in doing non-lender appraisals.
Do we have a second on Mr. Plummer's motion?
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Okay, so we have motion to dismiss with warning to sign the appraisal report and to use general appropriate form. And this was a commercial appraisal, right? So this is not done by commercial appraisal.
It was done by a commercial appraiser.
So he may have missed, not getting the right form.
Yeah,
It's not as quite a big issue, I suppose.
no, using the general purpose form is better explains to your, gives better explanation for your client than using a set form, which they can take it further and use UAD data, and it becomes non-readable, basically for a typical client. He was a general appraiser, but he was doing a residential assignment.
Okay, if you will please state your motion again, we'll hold on.
Well, the motion is to dismiss with a warning to review all reports, including review reviewing reports, signing them, and using a general purpose form with appraising residential property for non-limited purposes.
All in favor, do we have a second on that motion? All in favor of accepting this recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mr. Moore's motion is carried, we will adjust that recommendation.
Okay, and then I had, wanted to take a look at, 0035, which is on
Page 10.
10. Is this yours, Tom, as well?
No, this one,
Gene?
Gene.
Gene, just reading some of the comments, I agree completely with your recommendation. I just wanted to ask you, do you think there needs to be any investigation towards the AMC?
I talked to the AMC extensively, and they sent me emails, and they were pretty on top of it. I don't understand how his appraisals didn't get to the AMC. That was a problem. He tried to send them 3 times. I got a letter from the AMC documenting that he tried to send the report 3 times. They never came. I don't know.
Mr. Burton, what would your thoughts be on that?
Well, one of the things he said was that the AMC never paid him, but we found proof in fact he was paid, and that the check cleared, which kind of went a little bit towards the appraiser's, his allegations, because he was actually paid. And they properly followed everything they were supposed to. They notified him in writing that he was being removed and why, which follows our rules. I didn't see any issue. They were responsive to us when we asked questions. They sent us documentation as we asked for it.
Okay, and I have a suggestion, Mr. Chairman, for that. And I had, so I wanted, if we could look briefly at 00. I'm sorry.
Okay, mention 35, page 10.
Part of my question is sort of down the same line. In the conclusion part of this, the way it's worded, it said it is apparent the client never received the original photographs. And then part of the statement that we just heard was that they also had not received apparently some of the updated reports, but yet they were, they spoke to that they could tell that they had been sent. Now, there seems to be a disconnect there for me that they could tell on the system that the appraisal reports had come in and that they had not received them. And then secondly, part of that is they had never received photographs. So if indeed there is evidence that they had never received the reports to deal with, then it's hard to go back and put this back on to the appraiser that he didn't send the photographs.
Let me correct that. They sent us 3 emails stating we received the reports, but the photographs were the same each time.
His changing of the photographs was not holding for some reason. In other words, every time he'd upload it, it would revert back to the original, the photographs he had the first time. And they did provide a way, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that he could have forwarded them.
Yeah, he could have
Mailed them or, so once they couldn't get them the other way.
Yeah, so that was wrong. He did receive them. I mean, they did receive them, but it was the same photo, they said.
Again, I agree with that analogy, but it seems like that we're putting a lot of emphasis on him in this particular case. And as Mr. Gore spoke about a minute ago, there seems to be a disconnect in their system somehow. So if they're not getting the appraisal reports, then does that not make suspect their delivery system, which could be affecting the photographs also?
Well, they could, but then they also give them the option that he can send it by UPS next day air to the below address, and they gave them a mailing address to send the reports to, if you chose to submit them in that fashion. When they keep rejecting them and sending an email saying we're not getting original photos and sending them that, you can email it, you can send it through the portal, or you can send it to this address, and we give them an address to UPS it to. It seems to me they gave them the options of way to submit it. You chose to go through the portal again, and the fourth time it was submitted, it still contained the original photos. It seemed to me that I printed out and mailed it to them. The portal didn't seem to be working. Of course, that's giving him the benefit of the doubt that he did indeed change the photos, which I'm willing to do.
Okay. Any other comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman, can we move on this particular one? As we go along, or do you want to?
Maybe we could ask for a motion now. We have a motion and a second to accept staff recommendation on 0035.
I move we accept.
I second.
There's a motion and a second to accept staff recommendation, which is to dismiss with a warning to adhere to all assignment conditions, conditioned upon completion of the class and making adjustments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, Mr. Gore, you have page 42, page 20.
Yes, sir. This is a 2 to 4 family income producing residential property report, which is always a difficult assignment to do. I think anyone would agree to that. Just some comments, on page 20, in paragraph, statement number 2. I don't have a copy of the report, I can't comment, but I find it interesting that this is a duplex unit, and the underwriter, where the AMC indicates that the rent should be $600 per unit instead of $650. I mean, they're overriding the appraiser on $50 per unit. That's always interesting to me. On page 21, first paragraph, the comment there that AMC has a desire for bracketing. Oh, well, that's on the assignment condition, and that's certainly something that the appraiser should do. However, all the GSEs have retired these type of guidelines to allow the appraiser, the experienced appraiser, to do a proper report with the best substitutes he has without hindrance of these 15%, 20%, bracketing, proximity, other things, just to meet a set of guidelines that do not apply. Under the summary of the investigation, once again, you see it's a 2-story duplex, so we're talking about the difference of $100 in the market rent. Investigator searched for other sales in medium market and found no better sales than what the appraiser used. Go down further. One question, the investigator, Gene, did you find in fact any better rental comparables than what was used?
No.
Okay. Did it support $650 per unit?
Well, the comparable that was most similar, which was a rental, was renting for $600, and there was nothing that I saw that could support the $650.
No explanation.
They gave no explanation.
And that was an issue raised. It's not that Not that it couldn't have been 650, he didn't show how he got there.
You didn't show it all.
I don't know how he got it. It was clear that you could get 600, but it wasn't, he didn't show how you could get to 650.
Well, and if that's the case, then I move that we accept the staff's recommendation.
I have a couple of questions that just come up then, if you don't mind. When we were talking about this and was listening to Mr. Gore's questions, any indication of what his gross rent multiplier was on this particular assignment? So 75. Was this property one or part of it, was it rented at the time?
One unit was.
One unit was rented.
Any indication of what it was rented for?
Yeah, his gross rent multiplier 75.
What was current rental amount for the one unit?
From what I'm looking at, it was, he says current monthly rent $650.
Okay, was that under a lease?
He does not say.
So it's currently rented for $650. You know, just make sure I'm thinking, it's currently rented for $650. But yet you didn't feel like the comparable was justified $650.
He didn't explain how he got $650.
Well, I mean, when
From the comparables, he didn't explain.
He didn't reconcile how he got it from the comp.
If I'm not mistaken, on the form, it says you use the actual rent if you have it in your GRM analysis. And that's the standard for doing this report. If you don't have it, if the units are not rented, then it's acceptable to use the market rent. But the form states you use the rent, you are to, you shall use the market. You shall use, the actual rent shall be the market rent. But if you have the form, I'll show it to you. For me.
In this particular case, I'm struggling with the level of commentary that is being required. It doesn't state here if the ANC in this case, I don't know if it was the ANC or the client, yeah, it was the ANC. If they were asking, if they asked for additional commentary, and that was unclear to me, if they were asking for more commentary on top of the assignment conditions that were placed out there for the job.
He did issue a revised report saying following comments were added by the appraiser, and then he addressed whether the subject was an over improvement. He addressed comparable sales. He said the estimated market rent was supported by available comparable rentals. So the highest rental he had was 600.
It's kind of mind-boggling to me if he has in his report, and there is a history of one of the units at 650, and it depending on how long that history was. Now, he may have it may have been in his best interest to comment on that, that's where he was hanging his hat, but to say, if that unit happens to have rented for 2 to 5 years or whatever the time period was at $650, it's hard not to, if you're overlooking that as an appraiser, then you are not, you could be misleading a statement at some lower number. I'm having a hard time with that when that different unit was rented for $650.
Well, the report says that there was a lease that began June 1st of 2018, and went till June 1st of 2019, and the rent was $650, and that was, his report was June 12th. So it's only been rented for a week or two. And the other one was vacant, and it needed some work. That's the other thing with the property. There was some cost here and there for some issues.
Is there any follow-up question we need to go back and ask? I mean, or is this something just? I wanna make sure we get vetted out what your question is, and if we need to go back and research it, we want to bring it back, we can. That's, but I do think the issue of, you know, just because it is the rent doesn't make it the market rent. But it's true.
I would feel more comfortable with that one. I knew it's right in the middle for me, and with the explanation, that the attorney said just now, that would also give me some direction. But I think that we should, from my perspective, I'd like to hear his side of, all right, here's the issue. Tell us how you came up with this. If you're hanging your head on this one lease, that's a different story to me, but do you know the history from it prior? And I'd like to kind of know his thought process, which is probably what he should have written in the report, but apparently no one asking in that tone. You know, I'll make a motion to send this back to at least ask the questions on this one.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion of continuance on 0042. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So what do you put that for the next meeting? Okay, I believe we have one more to examine, and we can start with more on that. That's
Yes, sir.
42 on page, I'm sorry, 004 on page 22.
Yeah, it helps to make good notes so you remember what you're talking about. And it also helps you be able to read your notes.
Tell me about
My comment here is just would it be helpful to add, I agree with everything in the report. My comment is simply, would we want to dismiss with a warning of pay on time based on page 23, paragraph 1.
I will point out that as part of the consent order we had with them last time, they were sending us quarterly reports of all the assignments that they were paying. We're getting that now, and they come up to me and I take a look at them to see if they're paying late. So that's already part of the consent order.
That seems to cover it, and doesn't, unless you think just some comment from the board to support that would be very good.
It's kind of hard to warning to make sure you're at your appraisers tell you when they move. That's what's happened here.
Yeah, all right, that's all for me, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
I had that particular paragraph circled also as part of the question. How long or what's the time period that we have been getting those quarterly reports, and how long is it supposed to continue?
It's for 2 years, and we got our first report, I believe in July for the quarter that ended in June.
Okay, the time period here, obviously the guy moved to the right address for him receiving the check, but part of this, it appears that in the response, the respondent says that they issued the check on June the 25th. If my count is correct, they issued the check 33 days. And so they're testifying that in that period of time that they did not meet their requirement. And so I'm not asking in this particular case, based on 3 days for them to be basically has to come for a hearing on that. But I think that particular case, it's within the time period that we're asking for the records, and we're monitoring it. So I think it would be beneficial as a board to go ahead and say, hey, listen, you've had a couple of instances here. This one is in front of us. So I think it does rise to the level of dismissing with a warning, at least, because they have testified or maybe submitted evidence that they dropped the ball on 1 or 2 of them.
It's going to say warning to assure check is issued within 30 days.
That's right.
Well, I do need to apologize, I should have put in here, they say they received the report May 25th, not the 23rd, and that's what their records indicated. And they have a list of the number of times that they sent it back.
That'd still be 31 days. So
Yeah, the 25th to the 25th, but yeah, I mean, it's still.
It wouldn't hurt the caution.
Yeah, I have no problem sending them a caution.
Okay. I would like to amend that recommendation to dismiss with a warning. Second.
Any other discussion by board members? Okay, we have a motion and a second to dismiss with a warning to issue statements or checks on time within 30 days. Is that what you'd like to hear? Okay.
That is exactly 30 days, not 31.
Exactly.
And to me, Mr. Burley, it's just a statement that the board is supporting what the staff has told them to do. We recognize that what you've asked, we see that as well. Support that.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to dismiss warning to issue check exactly within 30-day cycle, and that's on case number 004. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. I believe that is cause.
Exhibit 5 of your cases that are pending hearing, not reflected on here, I'll make sure it is next time, are there are a couple of AMC cases that are pending hearing as well. We did take off number 4 today.
Can I ask a question there? I had that part of it down there. 2 cases the last meeting, and I was wondering why that was not showing up.
I'm not really sure the way our program is set up, but we'll make sure that
We have it generally listed that usually is something that we probably need to start that process.
I know that I missed last meeting, but we had one that we thought was pretty certain coming here, and that's still pending.
And we had another one before then, so we have 2 pending AMC cases. Pending hearing. I'll make sure that it's on here this time. Page 6 is your discipline reaction summary. Complaints have slowed down a little bit, which is good for me.
Finished with that? I think we'll take a 10-minute recess before we'll look this over.